Now, the U.S. plans, as we were saying, to deliver 200 million vaccine doses this year, then 300 million during the first half of next year. Does seem kind of late, doesn't it? Experts say that's not fast enough. Only 6%. Look at that. 6% of the world's population is fully vaccinated compared to 40% of the people in the U.S. and the UK. As infections, of course, spread through Africa now, the World Health Organization is sending out an urgent plea. Its goal was for each African nation to vaccinate 10% of its population by September. The WHO says without another 225 million doses, nearly all of them will miss that target. The vaccination rate in Africa is less than 1%. Amanda Glassman is the Executive Vice President of the Center for Global Development. She's among those calling on the G7 leaders to share at least 1 billion vaccine doses with low and middle income nations by the end of the year. She joins us now from Washington. It is a cliche and yet very true here, right? Very little and very late. It is a fair comment that the allies all around the table have hoarded vaccines and then decided to provide them to the world.
Well, that's certainly the case, that the US, the UK, the European Union pre-purchased enough doses to vaccinate their own populations several times over. And now they're beginning to think about the rest of the world. But in the meantime, the disease has moved extremely quickly, and we're now seeing a third wave of cases kick off in sub-Saharan Africa. So it's now time to get faster on sharing doses.
In terms of the need and the scope of this, and what's extraordinary here is this is one of those things where you can't protect any one of us without protecting the entire globe. And the fact that there was no leadership on this from anyone around that G7 table is extraordinary, really. But let's deal with what you just explained, the scope of the need right now in places like Africa, South Asia, in places that actually aren't even that far, you point out, from the U.S. coastline, places like Haiti.
Absolutely. Unfortunately, it's the case that outside of Europe and the United States, the UK, there simply isn't access to vaccine. Now, those countries have purchased vaccine from manufacturers in China, in Russia, and in the United States and Europe. But the delivery of those doses has been slow because they're farther back in the queue to have their deliveries. So this is really about trying to get everyone up to a basic level so that healthcare workers are covered and so that people over 65 are covered. It's now totally feasible now that the U.S. is almost at half its population fully vaccinated.
Yeah, and that is certainly the good news. Do you have any concerns about distribution? I understand that the doses are going to these countries, but do you think more should be done to make sure these countries know where to distribute it, how to distribute it, and that they really bulk up their own health care, put in the resources to bulk up public health in these countries?
Absolutely. Many countries are just not accustomed to vaccinating adults. So that's a whole new story. They are really good, actually, at childhood immunizations. In most countries, outside of high-income countries, vaccination rates are higher for basic childhood immunization. But there are challenges with these vaccines. It's particularly challenging given that we're fielding, not just one vaccine, but 4 or 5 different vaccine candidates. That requires a different level of logistics. And we certainly do need to provide some support to delivery. We've learned a lot in our own countries about how to make this work, and we can share that.
And about learning lessons, what would be the one thing you would tell those leaders around the table of what they should have learned from this global pandemic and vaccine diplomacy?
Well, we certainly need to prepare for next time, and that means we need to have the money ready to pre-purchase for the entire world, not just for high-income countries, because imagine pandemic flu. There's a likelihood that that will happen in the next 10 to 25 years. Are we going to have the same scramble for vaccines again? I certainly hope not. So we need to create new mechanisms that put the money up front, that make it possible to procure in simultaneity, to be able to manufacture enough in simultaneity. So that's the task ahead.
Quite a task it is. We'll see, because Biden, in fact, preempted the announcement of his allies, saying that there will be more donations to come, and we certainly hope we see better statistics out of these countries. Amanda Glassman, thanks so much. Appreciate it.